Mermaids are pan-global unconscious manifestation of what I think is the goddess, the feminine principle of the sea, and the goddess, i.e. the woman. And it's literally a fish and a woman wedged together. And mankind has dreamt up mermaids all over the world. And they are, I think that I've tracked the first mermaid story. It's a very good, strong story, about 6,000 years old. It's a Syrian. It's an indie book no one wanted, and I just went, fuck you, I'm doing this book and I'm getting the publicity. I'm hiring the biggest guns in town to take care of this book. Fuck you, really fuck you. I assumed I had a very different identity around my sexuality. I always thought I was at the centre of, I was one of these people who like to assume I was, very confident. And so my sexuality was validated a lot when I was much younger. And now, not the case. I've had to dig deep, adjust to losing the gaze, and but I've stuck it in there. It's an 18-month training. Yeah. And I think what I did do was give up and close down, and you get the message. Okay, I've got the message. No one fancies me anymore. I'm not this, I'm not that. And you get the message. So you kind of go, okay, close down the shop.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Have Extraordinary Relationships podcast with me, your host, Lucy Cavendish. And today I'm with someone whose books you probably know and love. And if you don't, you should be picking them up and reading them. I'm with Monique Roffey. Her latest book was Passion Tide. The book before Passion Tide was The Mermaid of the Black, I say Conch, some people say Conch. It won the Costa Book Award. It went absolutely stratospheric. It's a book club classic. Everyone's read it. It's wonderful. But she also written many other books. She's also someone who has just recently been on a Tantra course and knows a lot about that. And she is an activist, and she has started the Hey! Art Festival. So,
yeah,
she's a woman of passion. She's a woman of values. She's many things. So, hi, Monique.
Thank you, Lucy. Oh, nice to see you. As the summer starts to end, we can all feel it, can't we?
Yeah.
Suddenly you wake up and it's September, and there's been a mood shift, and it's nice to talk to you.
So I would really love you to talk about. So you originally were from Trinidad, aren't you? That's a place of your birth.
Mm-hmm.
And your book, your novels, the last two. I mean, I don't want to say all of them. So I first came across you not as a person, but as a writer with a white woman on the green bicycle, which I think was in 2010. Is that right?
I think that was published much earlier than that.
Much earlier than that, yeah.
I think it was 2002 or
2002.
or no, 9. No, you're right. No, 2009 that was published.
So that's how I completely transfixed me, that book, and then I obviously then have read your books ever since, and I loved it. I loved the identity, and I loved the setting, and I loved the image of this woman, and that also won the Costa, didn't it? Or was it?
No, that was shortlisted for the then Women's Prize, Orange Prize.
Okay. So tell us about your books, because I know they're set in, Passion Tide is set in the Caribbean. It's stories of friendship and love. Identity, Mermaid, a lot. If you haven't read it, maybe Monique will tell us a bit about Mermaids, and if you had read it, you'll want to hear.
Well, I mean, I've been writing from the Caribbean, or as we say, the Caribbean, for at least 15 years now. And it started with my second novel, which was The White Woman on the Green Bicycle, which is a kind of period piece set in the 50s and 60s, and then contemporary Trinidad. So it's very much based on biographical material about my parents and how they ended up in a place like Port of Spain, and when they arrived abreast of the end of the colonial era, and yet they were colonial. My father was definitely a highly identifiable white colonial man.
Mm,
My
mm.
mother used to ride her bicycle around Port of Spain, and little did she know that this was not the right thing to do, and people had been talking about her, and
Okay.
they arrived, very innocent in the region, just as the independence movement was on its first legs, and a charismatic leader like called Eric Williams was going to be the first Prime Minister of Trinidad, and
Mm.
the colonials were leaving just as my parents arrived, and my parents had a good 10, 15 years of pre-independence era. So they lived as colonials when they arrived in the 50s, and they were young, and they were young, and they were sort of, didn't have a penny to rub together, and dad had a scooter, mum had a motorbike, mum had a push bike. So there's this great romantic story about being this child of these parents
Yes.
um, who were mixed up in some way, in some innocent way. They weren't politically aware of, coloniality. They weren't particularly aware of the fact that they were colonials themselves. They came, they came because for opportunity and adventure, and it's the story of how they tried to integrate and how they tried to make sense of being there at a time when uh, people like them were being asked to leave. They were being asked, all their friends were being asked to leave, and my father, they didn't leave. They're still there. So my family have integrated over 3 or 4 generations. So my journey about writing about Trinidad started there, and I've written about a climate book, Archipelago, which won the OCM Bocas Award for Caribbean Literature, blah, blah, blah. And that's also based on my brother losing his home in a devastating flood. And then I wrote other, then I think I wrote the Mermaid book, and then Passion Tide. So it hasn't really stopped. It's been such, it's not just me. I've got other Trinidadian friends who live in diaspora and who write, and
Mm,
we're all obsessed. We all don't, we all keep saying we must stop doing this. We must stop writing about Trinidad. And it has happened because I've just delivered another novel that's not set in Trinidad. But it's such an incredibly rich place, whether it's history, it's post-coloniality, it's creolism, it's mix-up, it's people, it's culture, it's the most vibrant place I can think of. And it's not a safe, easy place. So I have been utterly enthralled by this place that I come from for a
mm,
long time, and I've written 5 novels set in the Caribbean. And again, as a person of European background, of
mm.
colonial background, it makes it, really hard to it's a double lens. It's a double lens.
What do you mean by that? It's a double lens.
As a
Yeah, don't you
as
live
a
in London?
as a person with pale skin in the region, we're only the 1%, so we're kind of marginalized, and also carry the stigma of European coloniality and colonialism, which is a negative stigma. So on the one hand, you're slightly an outsider in Trinidad, and then I come here, and I'm a bit of an outsider here too.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's kind of like this. I look back at Trinidad with being able to see Trinidad from a diasporic point of view. And I also look at London, look at the metropole with the Caribbean sensibility. So there's this kind of double lens. Always
Yeah.
look at things as an outsider.
Is there any place where you don't feel an outsider?
Maybe Alonissos, maybe Greece, maybe other
Oh,
countries.
Greece.
Yeah, maybe other countries, maybe India. But it's
Ah,
traveling is
interesting.
tough. Traveling to colonize, traveling these days is tough. It's always been tough. If you come from a privileged background and you're traveling around places where there's extreme poverty and social injustice,
Mm, mm.
always tough.
So just tell us a bit about Mermaid. So what do you think? Well, tell us a little, just get a little bit about the story, just for people that haven't read Mermaid. 'Cause for me, it's a book that's so, I mean, I just find it as such a,
Mm.
I just love it. People love it. I mean,
Yeah,
people
people
have such
do.
they love it.
I think people love mermaids. I think everybody loves a mermaid.
Everyone loves a mermaid.
Everyone loves and mermaids are pan-global unconscious manifestation of what I think is the goddess, the feminine principle of the sea, and the goddess, i.e., the woman. And it's literally a fish and a woman wedged together. And mankind has dreamt up mermaids all over the world. And they are, I think that I've tracked the first mermaid story. It's a very good, strong story, about 6,000 years old. It's Assyrian, and there was a goddess called, you like this, Atagaris, and she had a lover. She was a high-born princess, and she had a lover who was like a shepherd, and they were making love, and she killed him accidentally. And I'm like, what happened? There's not enough. There's not enough. She killed him, and I'm like, did her orgasm kill him? Did she sit on him?
But
Did
did
he
she
have a heart
flash him
attack?
with her tail?
No, this is before she was a
Oh,
mermaid.
before she's a
So
mermaid.
did he die of a heart attack? What happened? But the long story is the short story is that she was so heartbroken that her lover had died during lovemaking that she threw herself into a lake trying to kill herself, and the gods decided to save her and turn her into a mermaid. That's our
Oh,
oldest mermaid story, and it's from Assyria. So
wow.
we've been telling, and there's all kinds of things that it's so mermaids are always often um subject to the male gaze,
Mm,
subject of the male gaze.
mm,
Columbus said he saw mermaids on his voyages and that they were ugly because we now think that what he saw were manatee.
mm.
But this idea of them being sirens, singing, being treacherous, luring men to their death, being competitive. So the story that I've written about is about a young woman who were cursed because other women. It's about female jealousy, social exclusion, cursing women, older women cursing younger women, married women cursing single women, and this poor lonely mermaid being cast out of her village, Archaea, and being banished to swim alone forever before she had any chance to have erotic love. And she was banished with an old woman who was turned into a turtle. So, like many old stories, there's a problem about lack of agency for women and
Mm,
women being cursed. If you look back at we've only had feminism for 200 years or less.
mm.
So most old stories show women up to be, weak, jealous, angry.
Yeah, I mean, even look at Hera, who hates everybody because she
Yeah,
uses about having sex with
yeah,
swans and things.
exactly. Aphrodite, you name it, everybody is jealous, conniving, bitchy, witchy, just not like women that we know that are in some have been liberated and, live different lives. And there's an army of Hetara women. You know, the Hetara being, Simone de Beauvoir's idea of this sort of sexually active woman who isn't married, who has agency around her sexuality, around work, etc., etc. So I took Aikaia and I gave her her erotic rite of passage. She meets somebody called David who does sort of rescue her, but he soon realizes that he's kind of rescued someone who doesn't need rescuing, and she's and if there's any way to sort of have any kind of romantic interlude with this woman who has turned as mermaid who's turned into a woman, he's got to wait and let her choose him and not, you know, she's not playing. She's an ancient pre-modern person who doesn't understand any of modern game playing or courtship. So it's an ancient story that I've turned into a feminist news story about a young woman who gets to beat a curse, and and goes back into the water, but she's changed. And so that's a great privilege of writing, is you get to alter old stories and rewrite old stories and, turn wicked witches into, in on themselves. So that's the mermaid. And you're right, people love it. Been an incredible yeah. I
When you
can't
were
even believe.
when you were writing it, I'm always interested. Books, some books take off, and I always wonder when you're writing it, do you think, "Oh, this is the one. This is the book."
No. No, never.
Ah, yeah, this is the. I can feel it. It's just bookers have got something
Well, I
magic.
don't know because the only time I've had that feeling is with the book I've just delivered.
Ooh.
So I've just delivered a book which I think this is great. And I don't trust that feeling. I'm waiting for my editor and my agent I've just delivered it to come back with some very sort of careful notes saying, well, it's quite good. It's not as good as you think. But I'm not sure I trust that feeling of like, I've written the one, I've written I've this if this doesn't go stratospheric, then I can never. And I do have that feeling about my current book, and I don't necessarily trust it.
Okay,
We'll
so
see.
we're gonna see what happens
Yeah,
with that. With Mermaid, did you crowdfunded Mermaid, didn't you?
I did. Yes, that's the other part of the story of Mermaid is it was rejected by every single major publisher.
I think I gave you sort of £5 or something,
Yes, I really did.
a paltry, tiny amount.
This was 6 years ago. In fact, it's just come up on my Facebook memories, so I posted it.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I thought to myself, I've written this mermaid book, nobody wants it, it's been rejected by everybody, but plucky People Tree Press, who are quite a famous indie press based in Leeds, and they publish all the great Caribbean writers. I mean, they took it, and I was like, okay, it is going to be out there in the world, and I like People Tree, and People Tree's a good home for it, but. They paid me almost nothing, peanuts for it, and they don't have a publicity, they don't have PR, they don't have that. So I just thought, this is my last throw of the dice. This is it. This is my end game. I've got to the end of my career. I did think that.
Mm.
So I'm just going to wade in here and I'm going to say to them that I want a publicist. I deserve a publicist. And would they mind if I crowdfunded
Mm.
publicly, amongst my peers and friends? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. They weren't insulted. They didn't sort of think it was a bad idea.
I think it's
And
very clever.
I
Yeah.
did speak to a really famous writer and I told her what I was doing. And she said, don't do that, don't do that. You're not a charity. You're not a charity. And I was like, I just thought I am a charity. And
Yeah.
also, I don't care enough at this point. I really thought this is the end. This is the end. I don't care. I could go under. I might not write another book.
Yes. Yes.
So I crowdfunded and the rest is history.
Yeah. I loved that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Proud.
I think it was I thought it was just a brilliant. I think it's a brilliant thing to do.
And I went to a top PR agents. We went to FMCM, and I raised 6 grand in a couple of weeks, and it was like people like you. Everybody gave me a fiver, or some people gave me 100 quid, couple 100 quid. But eventually, it became this big thing, and the bookseller wrote about it. And every time I get interviewed, people ask me about it, and I'm like, yeah, look, it's an indie book no one wanted. And I just went, fuck you. I'm doing this book and I'm getting the publicity. I'm hiring the biggest guns in town to take care of this book. Fuck you, really fuck you. And I did. And then we get the phone calls coming in because it was also shortlisted for about eight awards.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yeah. I mean, isn't that? I just love it. I loved that. I was like, here's
yeah.
this. I remember my mother getting it out. My mother bought it, my sister bought it, and I was like, that's the book I did. Gave £5
Oh,
to.
I gave 5 quid. And in the first edition, the People Tree edition, or everybody who gave money, I named them in the back in the acknowledgements. Everybody got named. And now, it's been sold in 15 languages. There's going to be a movie. It's been
Wow.
the one, if I everyone, it's the thing. It's a thing. It's been a big thing. And then of course I got a couple more book deals and I'm still writing.
Yes. So after that, you did Passion Tide. That's your last book. That's because you obviously now written another book.
Mm.
That's a book, again, set in the Caribbean, isn't it? Tell us a bit about Passion Tide. There's activism, there's lots of things.
Pride is a Me Too protest novel stroke action thriller set in Trinidad in a Caribbean island. And it's a kind of, I mean, at the heart of it is we have a terrible problem with femicide in the region and in Trinidad. And so some time ago, it was 2016, a young woman called Asami Nagakia, who was a Japanese steel pan player, was found dead under a tree in the middle of our city, in the middle of our central park, in her bikini and her carnival costume. And so the Japanese are crazy about steel pan.
Oh,
Just these weird facts of the Caribbean is that in Japan, they have a steel pan orchestra. They're obsessed with steel pan. And every year we get dozens and dozens of professional Japanese players come to play with our big bands. And it's an incredible cultural exchange, and not just Japanese people, um, musicians from all across the world. So it's quite common to see a huge steel pan orchestra with 200 or 300 people playing, all of them usually black African Trinidadians, and you'll see a handful of white people there, and there'll be foreign professional musicians who've come, and then you often see Japanese people in it because they're obsessed with steel pan. So this woman, we have this exchange that's been going on for like decades between Japan and Trinidad. And so this young woman, Asami, she was quite well known. She was quite well recognized. And then she was brutally murdered. And so I'm again retelling a story about a woman, and her story deserves to be told because she didn't, she was contributing to our country. She mastered a very difficult instrument to play, steel pan. She would self-fund. She bought her tenor plans. She was part of the community. She was well known, and she ended up dead under a tree. So that is the beginning of my book, and how did she end up like that? And then what also happened at the time is the local feminists were very active around what happened to Asami. And our mayor at the time, Mayor of Port of Spain, gave a very serious speech in which he said that women needed to be careful not to get raped. Uh,
oh,
I know.
that's helpful.
And it just set
Like we're all
ablaze.
going, oh God, yeah.
And it was pre-Me Too. So I'm
Yeah.
also making the case that Me Too started in Trinidad, not with Harvey Weinstein. It started there. And then me and some friends, we did a huge action on the stairs of the Trinidad and Tobago High Commission in Belgravia. And it went viral. I bared my arse. We were, and it went viral. And so the mayor, and a week later, the mayor was gone. It was one of these things where, lots happened. And so when the Mermaid did so well, and Penguin say, oh, we'd like to do another book with you. What would you like to do? I had been wanting to write about Asami Nagakia for years. And so I've written about her, and here is a copy
Mm.
of
There we go,
Passion Tide
Passion
out
Tide.
in
Yeah.
paperback
Yeah, I've got the hardback of that. Yeah.
as a
Beautiful.
hardback,
Love that.
and here is my mermaid book.
There's Mermaid.
You
Yeah.
should buy them together because they're very good. They're very
Yes. But
feminist Caribbean
I
women.
like I like the covers. Do you feel after Mermaid,
Yeah,
you then think, oh my God, what if my next book isn't as successful as Mermaid? Or are you able just to put that to one side and do the next book and then
both. I mean, this book hasn't done as well. No prize nominations, fine. It is a good book. I do feel it's very solidly written and researched, and but sometimes when judges come to look at somebody whose last book did so well, they don't really want to necessarily give me more prizes or put me up for lists when I've had my share. I've had my share of
yeah,
extreme
I
fortune.
understand.
So this hasn't done well, but you're right. I mean, if you have a big hit, um, you really do have to sit down again and quietening your mind, and you have to go back and you have to write again. And luckily, this happened to me later in life.
Mm.
And by the time I sat down to write Passion Tide, I mean, I'm a veteran writer. That's what I do. You just sit down and get back to work.
Yes, it's your job.
Mm.
Your job. So tell me about the activism, because you get involved in all sorts of things. You teach, you taught on the island of Skiros in Greece, which you don't do now, but teaching literature. I mean, you teach it, you get involved, you're marching, you're very involved in things, aren't you? You don't, you don't just sit around in your garret writing.
No. Yeah, so I'm a teacher. I been teaching. I used to be a centre director for the Arvon Foundation many years ago.
Yeah.
I have been teaching in Greece for a very long time. I think I stopped teaching there a couple of years ago, but you never know. You never say never. I am currently professor at Man Met in their writing school. I enjoy teaching, and I have literally, before I talked to you, I was in a tutorial with a Trinidadian writer actually who's at Man Met. And so I feel I want to be in integrity with the teaching. The minute I get bored of teaching, I'm going to quit. It hasn't happened yet. And I don't do a lot of it anymore. I do a little bit of it. And I work with MA students and PhD students. And so I'm lucky I'm working where I should be working, which is at the sharp end of the creative writing industry. I'm well embedded in a creative writing program. And the activism has been a surprise to me. I guess I've always been a political writer and come from, this background of historic coloniality and, so Extinction Rebellion, it arrived a few years back and many people I know got caught up in it, as I did.
Mm.
And me and some friends set up a writing wing of the writing chapter, which we call Writers Rebel, and it was really, really good experience in terms of, what writers are like. It's like herding kittens,
Yes.
like herding noodles, trying to push a spaghetti up a hill. So we did loads of stuff with loads of writers, and we all had good contacts, and we activated our community in around the climate. And those were great years, and I learned a lot, and I learned that I'm really good at or enjoy um, live. I like putting on world-class live literature in rebellion spaces. So I've really enjoyed it. It fizzled out when XR fizzled out. But
Yeah.
in those years, I mean, I met so many other activists. I met Just Stop Oil activists and you name it. And now I'm a member of Hard Art, which is Brian Eno and Claire Farrell and various others. There's about 300 of us, and out of Hard Art has come this Hay Festival,
Yeah.
which just launched.
Yes.
Hey, hey,
Hey, as in HEY.
hey. And
So
Hay is meant to
yes.
be a way for writers to interface with um, people very different to us, who think very different to us, who may vote reform, so we launched in Doncaster a couple of weeks ago, which is run by Reform.
Very brave.
And so, yes, that's what we're trying to do, which
That's
is
interesting.
open up. So we had Argue with a Woman and workshops and a live literature event. Yeah,
Ah,
we want to, I mean, most literature festivals are great for writers because
yes.
it gives us a showcase and we get to tell the world about me. If I go to Hay, I get to tell people about me, my book. It's wonderful. They get to host me. I get to sell some books. It's all about me. And there's a captive echo chamber in front of
That's
me who've
right. Yes.
heard of me maybe and want to know more about me.
Yes.
But we kind of want to reverse the energy there
Yes.
and get down off the stage and go into receptive listening mode and put a different type of. We also want to run workshops where we end up putting the participants on the stage, local writers on the stage. And we're at the beginning of this. We're right at the beginning. We're doing another one in New Haven in October, and we're doing one in Manchester in the spring. And eventually, I can see that we're going to learn a lot, and we have some work to do between now and the next election, because we want to do, like, dozens and dozens of these, where
Yeah.
we ask, just say Ali Smith to be Argue with a Woman, run by Ali Smith, as opposed to Ali Smith on stage talking about Ali Smith. So we're asking writers to step into different roles.
Yes, and I imagine I imagine what that does is it crosses the boundaries and barriers that we think exist.
Yeah,
So let's say me, I would find it difficult maybe to
yeah,
be talking in a way that's significant with, let's say, someone votes for reform. We've got very
yeah,
different
yeah,
banking systems.
yeah.
But this, I imagine, means that we're putting that kind of aside, or we're exploring it together, and we're
Trying to go in sideways through the soft power of art and literature and culture. So what we found is that so we had Anushka Gross, who's obviously a very well-known therapist, also a writer. So she had this incredible idea, which she'd used before, about this arguing with a woman, and we decided to sort of like include that idea in our what we offered up in Doncaster. And we like the idea of like a market square, like a Saturday morning, a market square. Everybody's out and about, people are selling things, there's vegetables, there's bric-a-brac, and that's exactly what we did. We had Anushka out there for 2 hours, and she was mobbed, people with a big sign saying argue with a woman. And it happened. It just happened really easily, and nobody really wanted to argue. People wanted to be heard.
yeah,
People wanted to sit down and talk to her. We put out 2 armchairs, and we got people talking, and it was so successful that after lunch she went back out there and did another 2 hours. So
amazing.
I think, there's potential. We've also got um somebody called Claire Patey who has built a massive ear, and she runs the Empathy Museum. So we're trying to, we want to take that ear around the country, and get people talking as opposed to us talking at people.
Yeah,
We want to get people talking to us and make something of it, make a sound mosaic, take the sound mosaic to Westminster, blare it outside Westminster, use it in some way that is going to demonstrate that people actually aren't horrible. People like each other. People are kind inherently. People like collaborating. We've been polarized and polarized and polarized.
mm,
Is this polarization really true?
yes,
Is
I
it
think
really
it's
true?
brilliant.
So we've got work to do, and that's my new project. That's my new baby. And of course, we're riffing off the hay, but we've got a collective behind this. It's not just me and a few writers. It's hard art is behind this. We've got a massive pocket of people who've got tons and tons of resources and creativity, and we're gonna see what happens. We need some more, and I crowdfunded for this as well.
Right, because yes, I saw that. I mean, because also what's interesting, of course, you think about therapy, the therapist is always in the position of power
Yeah, yeah,
because we're the ones that like know everything, right? But of course,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's just actually not true. It's not true,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, switch those roles around
Yeah, yeah,
is a very interesting thing to do. Is it? So that I'm the writer and I know everything. It's my book, and I'm
yeah,
speaking for these people, whoever.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and you're saying actually we're not doing that anymore. Do
We're
something.
not doing that. No, it's not. It says we're a festival, but really we're a festival of listening, as opposed to a festival of the energy being me, bunch of writers being fantastic, sending our energy out. It's like actually most of what we want to do is get writers deployed in being receptive and listening,
Mm.
and cultivating empathy and compassion, as opposed to just like, so we're seeing it's early days. You have to interview me again in about 18
Yes,
months to
I
see
would love to do that.
what we're
And the
getting
other,
with it all.
I mean, you're so vibrant about things, Monique. There's so many ideas. I know that go ping. What about that? I mean, and the other thing I know that you've got very interested in is tantra.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I thought that was a bit.
yeah. No, well, I've just turned 60. I know I don't look it. I know I look fantastic for my age.
Fantastic for your age.
And so back in the day, a long time ago, 15 years ago, I did a lot of Tantra with various people, including my current teacher, Jan Day, who's a very big name now in the tantric world. And I like to think of myself that I was quite vanguard with that, and I ended up writing a book about a lot of my adventures called With the Kisses of His Mouth, which is no longer in print, and which we're hoping might get reprinted. We'll see. We might get
Mm.
it might get a second run. But I've gone back now because as we get older, um well, it's as true for me. I've found sexuality harder and harder to access. And my feeling is gerontophobia is quite common. So the fear of older people and the dislike of older people.
Mm.
And as I get older, I feel that gaze. I've been feeling that gaze of, you know, some women call it invisibility, like becoming invisible. I think there's a really big truth there. I mean, I've noticed for sure
Bless you.
that it's not just that because I don't haven't become invisible. I've become more visible
Yeah.
since my big hit. So I've got this massive visibility as a writer and an activist. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is a hierarchy, that invisible hierarchy, especially around women and our sexual uh, value and agency, that suddenly becomes really clear and manifest um, as I age around sexuality. And so I decided to go into sexuality, and boy, has it been tough. It's been tough because I'm in a very big group, and I probably when I was younger and much more confident and highly and all much slimmer and big sex drive, I assumed I had a very different identity around my sexuality. I was always thought I was at the center of, I was one of these people who liked to assume I was, very confident. And so my sexuality was validated a lot when I was much younger. And now not the case, not the case. I've had to dig deep, um, adjust to um losing the gaze and but I've stuck it in there. It's an 18-month training.
Yeah.
And I think what I did do was give up and close down. And like you get the message. Okay, I've got the message, I've got the message. No one fancies me anymore. I'm not this, I'm not that. And you get the message. So you kind of like go, okay, close down the shop. And then you become closed. And you can't, I mean, that's what happened to me. I was sort of, okay, goodbye, I'm going. And so
Mm.
I think what's happened is it's over 18 months, you make friends with people, you have tons and tons of opportunity to meet people, experience profound um, mini adventures with people, intimate adventures with people, and somehow it's worked its magic. It's very hard to be specific about Tantra
Yes,
because
yes,
so much of it is confidential,
yes, of course. Of course.
but it's a good thing, and it has turned out it's tough, but I'm glad I've done this. Yeah.
So is it about a vibrancy, do you think? Is it about regaining some sense of vibe? Because actually a lot of women are like, thank God I haven't got the male gaze anymore. What a relief. I can just go and wear my pajamas and do the shopping in a hairnet.
No, because it was something that was ever present that you don't even know you're going to miss, and then one day it's not there anymore, and you can't choose. It's like you've got the blinger. You can turn it on and turn it off. You've lost it. I've lost it. But someone talked to me the other day about this idea of calm love.
What does
So
that mean?
when I was flooded with estrogen and all my hormones, sexuality was very, very hand in glove with a very tricky attachment style. So
Yes,
many of us who've been poorly fathered or parented
yes.
get insecurely attached. So this idea of rocket sex and attachment
And
is like a
drama.
fatal mixture that many women like me, if you're insecure in your attachments because of childhood neglect, it's a nightmare. So, for me, it was always the big drama. Love was never calm. Love was always too dramatic.
Yes.
So I think this idea of calm love is a big gift to older people now, because those hormones that used to flare up, and jealousy, envy, sexual
Oh,
hunger,
yeah.
all of
Yeah.
these things,
Fire, passion, joy,
massive things that you'd always
distraction, all that
come
stuff.
and, like,
We love each other because we row and now yeah.
and you can't work and you can't think and you can't sleep, and where is
Dogs,
he
dogs.
tonight, and will he call, and are you going to call, and who does he like, who is his friend, all of that's gone.
Good. Hooray.
Yeah. So it's about, I think what's the last 18 months has given me is an opportunity to reset and to stop being off and, like, okay, all right, I've got the message. And to think about how I want to be, because I'm probably going to live a long time, because my mother, who is 95, is still very much alive. And
Mm.
my grandmother lived to 100. So there's a lot of life to be lived.
A lot of living left, you know.
Huh?
Got a lot of living left.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think yeah, 60s are the new 50s, aren't they? Or the new 40s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to be 40 again. It was a mess.
Yeah.
I'm much happier being nearly 60 because things aren't a mess in the way that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, hooray.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I've loved being 60. I mean, I turned 60 in April, and I've had a really good, everything's great. Yeah, I'm having a good time. Yeah.
Good. Fantastic. So, when will your next book be out? We don't know yet, but next year, will you
Well, I would prefer if it was out in 2027, early spring 27.
quite far
I
off?
think there's a bit of writing to do. I think I'm going to get notes back, and there'll be more writing to do. And I would prefer to see it out early 27. So, yeah, watch the space.
And so, in the meantime, everybody, read Monique's books. Are you still crowdfunding for Hay? Get involved with Hay.
We're going to apply for grants for Hay. There'll be money coming from other places. I don't think you can crowdfund. I think when you decide to crowdfund, you can do it once every 5 years.
Okay, so
Not
just
the
look out
crowdfund.
for them, get involved. I think people can get involved with that if they want.
Yeah, yeah. Look out for my Hay festivals and follow me on Instagram.
Okay, so how can they follow you? How can everyone follow you?
Monique Roffey on Instagram. I have a private account, but I do let people. I mean, obviously, people still ping me, and I'll let you into my private world.
Everybody's private world. So thank you so much for being here with us. There's so much more we could talk about, but obviously you'll just have to come back when your book comes out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And
Have
we,
to go have a meal sometime, you and me.
yes, please. Oh, and we didn't talk about very quickly, Monique and I have both sponsored a category from Advantages of Age.
Yes, we have. Advantages of Age is a community, very lively community of older people that's been going for several years, run by two friends of mine and probably yours too, Rose Rouse and Suzanne Noble. But they do amazing stuff. They do startup schools for seniors. They generate loads and loads of ideas, and I don't know. They do all kinds of work and hold parties. There's a big awards ceremony happening in November.
November. So have a look at Advantages of Age and get involved in that as well.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you.